Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and wellness, where we learn how to overcome adversity to pick the fact versus fiction and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Today, guys, we got some good, we got some bad. Yes, that's a pun for what we're going to talk about later. But without further ado, let's welcome to the show Joshua Margolis from Mind Over Matter Health and Fitness Consulting. Okay, I can breathe. Welcome to the show, Josh.
Hey, pleasure to be here, Anthony. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Did I get the last name right? That's all that matters.
You did. It's tough. I do that all the time when I read a name. I'm like, did I say it right? You nailed it.
Oh, thank gosh. Okay. So without further ado, why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, why you decided to become a trainer? Take us all the way back. We want to learn all about your life.
Oh my God, this is my life. My favorite subject to talk about myself. Thanks.
No problem.
So we'll do. I just came up. I don't know how long you've been in the biz, but I just came up on my 20 years in the industry this past year. So yeah, it's
awesome.
It feels like a big accomplishment. I feel old, but I feel accomplished. So, this is a profession, as we know, a lot of people like hop in and hop out. It's, you really have to have fitness as a passion to make it your life. And that's certainly for me. I started 20 years ago as a little wet behind the ear trainer at Reebok Sports Club on the Upper West Side of Manhattan on 67th and Columbus.
Reebok Sports Club.
Yeah, I think they since have been taken over by Equinox. But at the time, and Manhattan goes through this, where it's every couple of years, there's like the new IT club. In the early aughts, that was the IT club. It was a lot of celebrities, a lot of models, a lot of athletes. And, I was a kid. I thought it was the coolest thing. And then I realized, wait, I actually have to work. I'm not just here to work out. So that was part of it. That was really the beginning stages of it. But I would say, working at a health club, and there's a lot of ins and outs to the business side of it, but that's really where I learned as much about fitness as any certification that I have. It was the idea of being around other like-minded individuals. And it really kind of, took my knowledge to the next level. I just started with A.C.E certification. Then I got my N.A.S.M, and then I got my runner certification. I got my prenatal postpartum certification. It kept growing and growing. And as we grow in life, we outgrow things. So I transitioned out of there and I started on my own. I had a partner who was a nutritionist, and we were just a two-person show. That kind of happened right around 2008, the bubble bursting. And I kind of got set back a little bit from that and reinvented myself and started Mind Over Matter Health and Fitness, where we're essentially, your one-stop and shop fitness service. I tell everybody I'm a fitness matchmaker. My responsibility is to find the best discipline for you, but also the best person to bring it to you. I know you know this because you have a team of people. It's the person that you're really connecting with, not just that discipline. I liken it to when we were back in college. Sometimes you just, took a liking to a professor and you love that class. Like I took agricultural science. Like I even remember anything about agricultural science, but I remember the professor and he was great. And that's what got me into it. So, that's sort of what I came to, focus on. My background is sports psychology. So I really do take the mental approach to things, the emotional approach to fitness. And that's kind of how when I first meet a client, that's what I'm looking at right away.
So I kind of want to just backtrack because that was a lot. All right.
A lot.
Yeah. So you started your company, Mind Over Matter, in 2008?
In 2008.
Awesome. And then when you started this company, you were talking about how you took it from a sports psychology perspective and wanted to incorporate more of that into the health and fitness atmosphere.
Right. Right. Look, all these things, I feel like they're cliches, but it's cliche because it's true. But what is it? 90% is mental. Is that what it is? Something like that, or
Yeah, something
yeah,
like
something
that.
like that. 90% of success is showing up. There's so many, but I always wondered because a lot of the people that I would train, and this was in New York City, were these really like uber successful people in their professions, like a lot of these Wall Street guys or a lot of these like high-end corporate women. And it was like a high-end highbrow clientele that just like killed it at work and made just copious amounts of money and was so successful at their jobs. But yet, why didn't it translate to fitness? Like, why could they not work out on a regular basis? Why could they not find something that they could somehow get connected or attached to? What was missing? They clearly had drive because they wouldn't be these successful people if they didn't. But why wasn't that drive applicable to fitness? And that's always what I'm trying to get at, like trying to tap in maybe to something that's in them that we can already use that's in them and apply it to fitness.
I got you. That's very interesting.
Yeah, it's deep. We're going deep
It's
already.
going deep, man. It's all right.
We're
So
going.
we'll take us back from a different perspective where I usually talk about how my psychology degree has really put a heavy load on how we train, and our industry kind of goes into more therapy sometimes and really borders that.
We should be paid as therapists. We definitely should. And this, right? There's something about just being with somebody and you're just exerting yourself in such a physical capacity and everything's just releasing from your body that it stands to reason that the emotion would get released too. That, everything would just sort of come out of the body. It's like a catharsis. And I think that's good. We both could probably write a book about these stories that we hear. We'd have to change the names, but it's I always thought, and a lot of my clients will cross the line, maybe TMI, but I think it's good. In fact, I notice a correlation between when they sort of unload on their problems emotionally. I see an uptick in their performance physically. I think it's they're getting it out of their system and out of their body, and they're just a little bit more comfortable, a little bit freer. There's more energy being expanded and released, and I think it helps.
I totally agree. I think what we do is way more minded and just kind of taking it from the audience's perspective. We a lot of the same thing kind of over and over again from a lot of different people, where the first step is all mental. Walking into it is all mental. Getting started is all mental. So it's understanding that the one thing holding you back is you. It's not that you can't do anything. We've talked to people on this show that have been in scenarios that, Josh, that would just blow your mind. Missing legs, basically dead, like came back to life through this. And there really is no excuse for a lot of people as far as how to start and when to start. And I think if we learn how to take over our minds and focus a little bit deeper in that, then we can really push on to the next step of what is getting ourselves healthier.
Agreed. 100%. I think, I'm always hopeful, but I even think like the last year and a half, and people's minds have not been right. We're finally getting, I hope, back to right. And I don't even know what right really is, but maybe like a sense, maybe it's a new normal, whatever it is. But people really need to be dialed in. I think the last year and a half, we've seen a lot of people really derail. I mean, I've seen some metaphorical train wrecks of clients that maybe I haven't even worked with in years, sort of reaching back out, that just, mentally and physically, it took a toll on them. And I hope now, I think things are getting back to normal. I think they are.
Yeah, I think we're on the right track. And just a big kind of sign for our industry is kind of throughout being closed, we saw such a big uptick in suicides. There's such a big uptick in domestic violence. Such a big uptick in depression, anxiety. Counseling was up some ridiculous number. And I don't want to say it was maybe because fitness was gone, but I think that played a part where gyms were the last place to open pretty much. And a lot of those continued until right about when you were able to work out again. Because a lot of people, it's anxiety, it's depression release, it's the most underutilized antidepressant on the market, working out. So I think it plays a hand in the role, and I think that's proof right there.
I think we should be filming like a PSA right now. I mean, really, you're nailing it. I agree wholeheartedly. You know, the gym is like the healthy bar. You know, instead of going to the bar, drinking your problems away. And I'm not judging, but, you know, people would go and have this. Even we lost that social convivial aspect of just seeing people that you were connected with, where, you know, you knew they were there at that time that day doing their workout. You would see them, and, you know, even if it was a simple hi, hey, what's up? We lost that component, and all that, everything you said is right. Things about domestic violence and suicide and depression. And maybe I'm hoping it's forcing people to take a better look at these things and realize the validity of them. Whereas in the past, maybe it was almost not taboo, but maybe like embarrassed to talk about certain things like that. You know, now maybe people can be a little bit more open about these things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really want to talk about this very intriguing idea that you have. And I am super excited. I prefaced in the beginning of the show of good versus evil.
Yes.
So, and when I first heard good versus evil fitness, I was just thinking like some monsters are chasing you and going. I'm having crazy vivid imagination about this, but
That's not a bad idea actually for the workout. You just made me think of, they have, I don't know if they have them now, but they used to have these zombie 5Ks where people would dress up
yeah,
as zombies and chase.
I've
the
done
run-
one.
Oh, you have? Okay. Okay. Were you the runner or the zombie? Which one?
We were runners and we wore Halloween costumes while running.
Wow.
And my fiance got caught. I didn't. She says it's because she was wearing a taco costume and it was just the draft of the wind.
Clearly, of course. What
Yeah.
else? What else could it be?
She got tagged by a 5-year-old.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's
No,
great.
but a lot of fun. Highly recommend you guys do that. But tell us a little bit about this theory. What is good
Right.
versus evil fitness?
Right.
Tell
So
us, man.
we had this great, and it's sort of like a akin to the age old battle or philosophy of good versus evil, whether it's in literature or religion or even modern day movies, books, things like that, where there's always a certain way that bad is portrayed and a certain way that good is portrayed. And I'm not going to try to go too deep, but I'm thinking about it right now. You and I look similar, except I have the beard. Traditionally, beards is bad guy look. That's the bad guy look, is the beard. Now, I think
That's
beards
why
have,
I don't have one.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
right,
just
right.
can't grow one.
But it's almost like that, like, and bad guys were black. So there's sort of like these, I would say, trends or misinformation in the fitness industry that people still think is legitimate types of workouts, but are bad for you. We always used to talk like Men's Fitness, the magazine. We used to call it Men's Fiction because there are these ridiculous workouts in there that would not be applicable to anybody unless you were like 25 years old and borderline like professional athlete. So we're trying to outline what is good for you for fitness and what is bad for you for fitness. So something simple that we were talking about before is, and this is good leading back to what we were saying before. If you haven't worked out since the pandemic, don't expect to come back and hit the gym 5 days a week. That is not going to happen. Not only is that not going to happen, I'm going to argue that that's going to be bad for you. I'm going to say that the idea of you burning out by attempting to do a complete 180 from what you've been doing the last 16 months is setting yourself up for failure. Epiphanies are fantastic, but they're few and far between. You're not just calling someone wake up and be this different person. It's a gradual change. As we know, success stays if you gradually switch that success. Overnight success does not last. That's in every institution, including fitness. So building back to a fitness regimen, it's okay to do something every day, but don't expect to go into the gym and pick up your pre-COVID routine if you haven't done anything since last March. So that's a constant of a good versus evil fitness. It's still good to come in and do something every day. Don't expect to pick up from where you left off. Another thing we talked about was, okay, maybe you were able to move X amount of weight 16 months ago, but I don't know if you should be able to move that weight now. The worst thing, as you and I know, as a trainer, we can do is to injure somebody. So you don't want to just pick up from those weights from where you left off before. Don't be depressed. Don't be discouraged. Don't be disheartened. Just know that you're going to get back to where you were with that weight, but maybe you could pick up your repetitions. You could add an exercise on, but don't necessarily go for that max weight that you've probably done in the past before. Build a gradual, slow routine up. Disciplines, and I'm a big believer in variety being the spice of life as it is for fitness. If you've never done a certain discipline before, ease into that discipline. If you want to try something new, I love it. Try something new. If you're a lifter and you want to try yoga, boom. If you're a yoga person and you want to try Pilates, good, done. But remember, it's not the same discipline. It's a different discipline on your body. Your body's going to have different reaction. You want to be able to gauge that. You want to be able to see how your body responds. So don't just throw yourself into that new discipline. Gradually get into it. And this is a plug for all of us in the fitness world. Work with a professional. It's really the sound, best sage advice I can give. And it does seem, I guess, hypocritical coming from somebody who does this for a living, but we always give the analogy, you wouldn't go into a courtroom representing yourself. You would hire a lawyer. Okay. So, other than brushing your own teeth, you wouldn't go and buy dentist tools and perform dental work on yourself. You'd have a dentist do it. It's the same thing for fitness. There's great fitness minds everywhere. You can tap into that, especially now with virtual world. You can tap into fitness minds around the planet. You can find somebody that maybe can get an idea of your goals, your needs, your wants, what you're looking to do, what your background is, and somebody you connect with. And that should be the person that can lead you to where you need to be. There's a reason why we do what we do. A lot of us have degrees, not just certifications, backgrounds in anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, sports psychology. There's a reason why we are doing what we're doing. So I would encourage everybody a good fitness trend would be to tap into somebody, tap into a professional.
I agree. You've mentioned a lot of good points, and we're just going to briefly kind of
try. I can't talk. You're on.
Fair enough. So we just want to talk about a little bit from the beginning where you were saying basically good and bad, be good being when you're hopping back into something, make sure you do it gradually. Don't expect to do the weights you used to do. Same thing goes coming back from any kind of vacation. Like I remember coming home 2 weeks from vacation. My weight is always like 30-40% less, but you pick it up quicker because you have that mind to muscle connection. So it's something to keep in mind. Always warm up. Don't drop into something straight. I think another one which you missed is don't look. Evil fitness is trends from like 20 years ago, where fitness, and just so people know, is probably the fastest changing field out there. What was good for you 5 years ago is not good for you anymore because they're finally doing research into it to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And don't go back to the way they used, like the Arnold days, where you watched his documentary. I think he said they were like drinking beers, doing lines of Coke just to get the best pump going. Like, we know that's not good for you.
By the way, if only. No, but no. To your point, it's if I think about, and I'm being honest, I'm burying myself here. If I think of some of the workouts that I did with my clients when I first started, if I would see that plan right now, I'd be embarrassed. I would be. I would not do those things because, to your point, there's just so much more knowledge now than there was 2 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. It is such a rapidly changing industry. there's always new information coming out, and it's really, like the stuff that I thought back then that I would swear by, I would be ashamed to do that.
I think the two biggest ones, just to give really concrete examples, lat pull downs behind the neck. Oh, I still see the older guys do it. I'm just cringed, like my neck's gonna snap. The other one would be, personally, I think this is finally coming to an end, where leg extensions. Loading up on the shins, not a good thing for your meniscus.
Right. When I see a leg extension machine, my first thought is, I guess, what a waste of space. Like, I'm like, what could be in this area right now that, or even if it's just empty, and doing a leg extension with a resistance band or something like that, like not sitted. Those machines where, you would almost like, you remember this one, the seatbelt? Do you remember strapping? They would have the seatbelt and strap yourself in like it's moving or something. But I just, we didn't have that knowledge back then. We didn't, and honestly, you're saying that people still do that stuff. I think, it's hard to break a habit. I think, I remember reading something, you got to do something 100 times before it becomes a good habit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I feel like you got to do something one time before it becomes a bad habit. Bad habits are easy to pick up. You pick them up like that.
Gamble ones, automatic addict.
Right. Right. So I would agree with that. Yeah. Those machines of time past. I think of like the Nautilus equipment that used to be in my like high school. And, the gym teacher would just be like, load up as much on the plate as you can, push all that in this fixed axis of motion. And you just couldn't move anything under your body. It was like tiny linear like fashion. It just, there was no stability. There was no like core involved. It was just push or pull.
Yeah, I very, very interesting. And I kind of want to talk about something that you didn't mention as well, which when you first told me good versus evil, like I was thinking more of cartoony and how it gets portrayed. And I want to give some examples through Disney, kind of what you were talking about.
All right, let's hear it, man.
I'm really bad at names, so you're going to have to help me with this one.
Okay.
Gustave from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, this is going to show that I have a 7-year-old daughter, but Gaston.
Yeah.
They're like 1950s style, like bodybuilding frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one acts like Gaston. No one looks like Gaston. That's the song. Yeah.
Point being, where if you look like that, you're bad.
I think it's the cartooniness, and this is in general in animation. You can portray it to be anything you want it to be. My daughter, who's here in the background, makes fun of me because Gaston is my favorite character from Disney. So I'm bearing a lot of truth here. I was upset when the Beast threw him off the tower at the end of the movie. Sorry, guys. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it.
Darn, I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah. But yeah, Gaston was one of my favorites.
Another one, not even a specific character, but you look at like the Looney Tune days where they wanted to get like big to beat their opponent. They would work out really quick and hard for like a day or two, and then they'd be jacked. And it's like, that's not how this works. And I think that mentality, watching it growing up, where, if I just go quick and hard into it, then I'm going to look like that.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's funny. It makes me think of one of those, to date myself, those like an 80s montage movie scene where like they're just training. It's like that middle 5 minutes of the movie, where it's like I think of like a Rocky movie or something, where they're just like killing it on like these absurd exercises, and the next scene they're just like jacked up, ripped up, ready to go to war. It's like the typical 80s montage scene.
Come on, you got to give me another example. Though. There's got to be another one.
I'm trying to think of like the 80s or like just a cartoony example of like a bad fitness.
I'm gonna ask my audience too, guys. Yeah. If you think of anything throughout Disney or growing Looney Tunes, something you watched growing up, put it in the comments, please,
Right.
and let us know.
Right.
And we're going to follow up on this, see how fitness gets portrayed through television, which I think could be another whole episode. But I want to just talk about back from like the 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Well, I grew up. It's funny you're saying this now. I'm like flashback. Like I grew up on the like the '80s WWF wrestling. Like that was like I lived for these like Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Big John Studd, Roddy Piper, all these guys that if you compared their physiques then to now, they would be an afterthought. They were like these like bigger but maybe more doughy like sort of caricatures of themselves. And compared, I don't really watch a ton of wrestling now, but compared to these like chiseled physiques that are in film right or in wrestling right now. Also, I was talking about the Rocky before. You got to look at the evolution of Sylvester Stallone through those Rocky films. His physique in like the first one versus like number 4 when he's fighting Drago and like he's at like 1% body fat. I can't attest to his workout regimen. I don't know what he was doing, if he was taking anything. I don't want to comment.
One point to people if they're watching celebrities, you don't have $5 million. You don't have a personal trainer that could train you 7 days a week. You don't have a personal chef that's meal prepping everything for you. So don't get discouraged if you don't look like that.
That's, man, you're hitting it on the head. I can't tell you how many times like where I've had some of my clients, my women that I've worked with, and like they'll like download an image of some celebrity, and I'm like, before you go any further, you're not gonna look like this. Giselle is 6 feet tall. You're 5'2". I like it that you have the motivation and to strive for this, but there's just certain things that it's just not gonna. It's not.
And
gonna,
if you want to look like Gisela, just a little prop question in here for everyone listening. Watch the previous episode and where I interviewed actually her chef.
Interesting. Yeah.
Learn a lot in that one.
Right. I would be. Well, I was joking. I joke all the time that Tom Brady and I have only one thing in common, and that is we don't eat tomatoes. Now, I don't eat tomatoes. I don't like them. It's a texture thing. He has the same thing about the acidic, and I think like the acidic value to it, and also I think there's something else that the tomato inflammation, I think, is another reason why he gives for not eating the tomato. I think nutritionists kind of kill him for that, but that's more for that genre of questioning.
Yeah, we're getting a little off topic.
Yeah,
So I'm going to ask you 2 final questions here, Josh. So first one, where can people get a hold of you? Where can they find you? Go for it.
That's the question. So our best tool is still the website. It's still Mind Over Matter NYC. That's us. We're Mind Over Matter NYC. We're based in NYC. We expanded out to Philly as well. But with virtual now, we're pretty much everywhere. But that's really the best bet. Social media, Mind Over Matter NYC, Instagram, and on Facebook, and those are the best ways to do it. But the website's the information source that tells you what we're up to. It tells you some of our trainers, tells you some of our philosophies and some of our classes. And plug right now for our Saturday class in Central Park. I know it's very specific, but we're doing this is an affectionate class. We're calling it. We're doing a dad bod class.
That's hysterical.
Park at 9:30 in the middle of the park. It's just for dads, there's no judgments. Just come out, whatever your physique is, and have a fun workout. That's all.
I love it. And then the last question I ask every single guest on here, if you were to sum up this episode and give one last piece of take-home advice to all of our listeners, what would it be?
I would say what I sort of hit on before with any institution, with any vocation, ask a professional.
Love it. Ask a professional. And thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.